If you grew up with narcissistic parents, you already know that childhood wasn't just childhood, it was survival. It shaped you in ways you may not even notice until years later, when you find yourself reacting differently than others, feeling emotions more deeply, or carrying doubts that never seem to fade. And if you've ever wondered, why am I like this? You are not alone, and you are not strange. Having a narcissistic parent changes the way you see yourself, the way you trust others, and even the way you move through the world. It's like living in a house where the mirrors are distorted. You see yourself, but never quite clearly, because your reflection is always being altered by someone else's needs, moods, and expectations. And yet here's the truth. The very traits that make you feel different are actually evidence of how strong and adaptive you really are. You had to develop unusual ways of coping, unusual ways of protecting yourself, and those shaped you into the person you are today. So in this video, we'll talk about the unusual traits almost every daughter of narcissistic parents carries. You'll probably recognize yourself in many of them. And as we go along, if this message resonates with you, don't forget to subscribe. It helps this channel grow, and it lets you stay connected with content that truly speaks to your journey. Imagine being a child who never knew which version of mom or dad was waiting in the next room. One moment, they're charming, maybe even affectionate, and the next, they're cold, dismissive, or explosive. You quickly learn that love is not steady. It's conditional. You get praise when you perform, when you make them look good, when you meet their expectations. But when you fall short or simply exist in your own way, the warmth disappears. Growing up this way means you learn to tiptoe. You sense the tension in the air before a word is spoken. You carefully choose what to say, how to say it, and when to stay silent. These are the hidden rules of a narcissistic household. Don't shine too brightly, don't upset their ego, don't expect comfort when you're hurting, and above all, don't need too much. I once heard a story from a woman who said she used to bring home her school art projects with pride, only to have her mother glance at them and say, "That's nice, but why didn't you do it this way instead?" No matter how hard she tried, her achievements were never enough. Over time, she stopped showing her work at all. This is what it's like for many daughters of narcissistic parents. The message is clear. You exist to serve someone else's story, not your own. And when you live like that, unusual traits begin to form, traits that stay with you long into adulthood. And if you're nodding along right now, recognizing pieces of yourself in this description, make sure you subscribe. You'll find more content here that reminds you you're not broken. You're simply someone who learned to survive. One of the first unusual traits daughters of narcissistic parents develop is a kind of hyper-awareness. From a young age, you had to become a detective, studying every shift in mood, every change in tone, every flicker of expression on your parents' face. Because those tiny signals could tell you whether you were safe or about to face criticism, coldness, or anger. It's almost like you had emotional radar built into you. You learned to scan the room before stepping inside. You could tell in seconds whether it was a good day or a dangerous one. And while most children get to relax and just be themselves, you are always on alert. Now, as an adult, that hyper-awareness shows up in powerful ways. You might be the person who can sense when a friend is hiding sadness behind a smile, or when a coworker is stressed even though they say they're fine. People probably tell you you're so intuitive, or how did you know I was feeling that? And while it's a gift, it makes you empathetic, compassionate, and deeply connected. It can also be exhausting, because you're not just aware of your own emotions, you're constantly absorbing everyone else's. If you're listening to this and thinking, "Yes, that's me, I can't switch it off," I want you to know, this is not weakness. It's survival skill you built out of necessity. And while it can feel heavy, it also means you have an incredible ability to connect with people in ways most others can't. And if this insight feels familiar, take a moment to subscribe. This channel is all about reminding you that your survival skills are actually strengths. You just need to learn how to carry them differently. Another trait almost every daughter of narcissistic parents carries is a loud, relentless inner critic. It's that voice inside your head that says, "You should have done better. You're not enough. Why can't you get it right?" That voice didn't just appear on its own. It was built brick by years of nitpicking, comparison, and conditional approval. Maybe your parent pointed out flaws in your appearance, compared you to siblings or neighbors, or dismissed your accomplishments as not that impressive. Over time, their words became your own thoughts. And even when you left their house, the voice stayed with you. This inner critic can drive you to succeed. Many daughters of narcissists grow into high achievers, always striving, always pushing, always trying to prove themselves. On the outside, people see someone hardworking, disciplined, maybe even impressive. But inside, it feels like you're running on empty, because no matter how much you accomplish, that critical voice still whispers, "Not good enough." Here's the truth. That voice is not your true self. It's an echo of your parents' insecurities, not your worth. You are more than those old messages. You are allowed to celebrate your wins, rest without guilt, and love yourself without conditions. So the next time your inner critic gets loud, pause and remind yourself, this is not me. This is the voice of the past. And slowly, you can start replacing it with your own kinder, gentler voice. If that reminder speaks to you, don't forget to subscribe. Because every week we dive deeper into these patterns, and more importantly, into how you can free yourself from them. When you grow up with narcissistic parents, love doesn't feel steady. It feels like a moving target. One day you're praised for making them proud, and the next you're ignored, criticized, or punished for something small. Their affection wasn't unconditional, it was conditional, based on how well you served their needs or image. And here's what happens. You start to wonder if love is ever truly real. Even in adulthood, when someone's kind to you, a part of you might hold back, thinking, do they really mean it? What do they want from me? Will this love disappear if I make a mistake? This shows up in relationships of all kinds. In friendships, you may feel uneasy if someone is consistently supportive, waiting for the other shoe to drop. In romantic relationships, you might struggle to relax, always bracing for rejection. Even at work, you might question praise, dismissing it as luck or thinking, if they knew the real me, they wouldn't say that. But here's the beautiful truth. Awareness is the first step toward healing. When you catch yourself doubting affection, remind yourself, it's not that love is untrustworthy. It's that you were taught love came with strings. Real love doesn't demand you shrink, perform, or constantly earn your place. Real love stays. And if this resonates, I'd love for you to subscribe. This channel is about reminding you that you deserve the kind of love that doesn't vanish when you're simply being yourself. Another unusual trait daughters of narcissistic parents often carry is a powerful, almost overwhelming sense of responsibility. As children, many of you became parentified. That means you took on adult roles far too early, caring for your parents' emotions, soothing their outbursts, protecting siblings, or even handling practical tasks no child should have to manage. You grew up believing it was your job to keep the household together. And while that responsibility gave you maturity, reliability, and strength, it also left a heavy mark. The belief that everyone else's needs must come before your own. Picture this. A woman who is always the dependable one, the one friends and family turn to for advice, for help, for comfort. She gives and gives and gives. But behind closed doors, she's exhausted. She collapses into bed at night not because she ran out of things to do, but because she ran out of herself. This sense of responsibility is noble. It speaks to your strength and resilience. But here's the truth you need to hear. You are not responsible for keeping the whole world afloat. You deserve to set boundaries. You deserve to rest. You deserve to receive care, not just give it. And if you're nodding right now, feeling seen in this description, don't forget to subscribe. This space is about reminding you that while responsibility shaped you, balance will heal you. One of the most surprising traits daughters of narcissistic parents often carry is a profound sense of empathy. Because you grew up feeling unseen, unheard, and sometimes invisible, you learned to recognize that same pain in others. You know what it feels like to be overlooked, dismissed, or made small. And that awareness made you deeply sensitive to other people's suffering. It's no wonder that so many daughters of narcissists are drawn to caregiving roles. Some become teachers, counselors, nurses, or healers of some kind. Others are the friends who everyone leans on, the ones who listen without judgment, who show up when others disappear. You've lived through emotional hunger. So when you see someone else in need, your first instinct is to give. This is a beautiful gift. It makes you compassionate in a way that is rare. But here's the caution. That same empathy can leave you vulnerable. Because when you're always pouring into others, some people, especially takers, will see your kindness as something to exploit. And before you know it, you're drained, carrying burdens that were never meant to be yours. The key is learning that your empathy doesn't need to be given away without limits. You can still care deeply, while also protecting your own energy. You can offer compassion without sacrificing yourself. And if this is resonating with you, if you recognize that mix of deep caring and deep exhaustion, make sure you subscribe. Together, we'll keep exploring how to hold onto the beauty of your empathy, while setting boundaries that keep you safe. For many daughters of narcissistic parents, identity feels complicated. When you grow up in a household where your parent dictated how you should look, how you should act, even what you should achieve, it becomes hard to know who you truly are outside of those expectations. Maybe you were told you're the smart one, or you're the pretty one, or you'll be the successful one. At first, it might sound like praise, but really it boxed you in. It meant you weren't free to simply explore yourself. You were cast in a role that served your parents' story. As adults, this can show up as a kind of chameleon effect. You might find yourself shifting depending on who you're with. Around one group, you play the caretaker. Around another, you act like the achiever. You mold yourself to fit what others want, because deep down, you were never encouraged to just be you. But here's the hopeful part. Healing is about rediscovering the identity that was always there, under the layers of expectation. It's about asking yourself questions like, what do I actually enjoy? What do I believe? Who am I when no one's telling me who to be? And slowly, piece by piece, you begin to reclaim yourself, not the version your parent demanded, but the authentic self that has been waiting all along. If that speaks to you, don't forget to subscribe. This channel is here to remind you. Your identity isn't something to earn or perform. It's something to uncover, embrace, and live fully. Perhaps one of the most striking things about daughters of narcissistic parents is the unusual balance they carry. They appear so strong, yet inside, they can still feel so fragile. From the outside, people may see someone who is independent, capable, maybe even unshakable. After all, you learned to handle responsibility early. You learned to endure criticism. And you learned to survive without much comfort. That builds a kind of outer armor that makes you seem tough. But what most don't see are the quiet wounds you still carry. The doubts that whisper when you're alone. The longing for acceptance that never fully fades. The memories of being unseen or dismissed. That fragility isn't weakness. It's a tender, human part of you that never got what it needed. And together, that strength and fragility make you beautifully complex. You can face challenges others would crumble under. Yet you can also cry at the simplest reminder of kindness. You can be the reliable rock for your friends, yet secretly feel like you're still learning to hold yourself up. This duality isn't something to be ashamed of. It's what makes you deeply human, deeply relatable, and yes, deeply inspiring. The world doesn't need people who are only strong or only fragile. It needs people who embody both. If you recognize that mix in yourself the strong exterior, the tender interior, remember, you are not alone in this. And if you haven't already, subscribe. Because this is a space where your strength and your softness are both honored, just as they are. It's easy to look at these traits and only see the struggles, the exhaustion, the doubt, the scars left by childhood. But here's the reframe I want you to hold onto. Every one of these traits was first a survival mechanism, and over time it became a skill. Your hyper-awareness turned into intuition. Your empathy turned into compassion. Your sense of responsibility turned into reliability. Even your inner critic, though painful, often pushed you to achieve more than you thought possible. These weren't signs of weakness. They were signs that you adapted, that you found ways to keep going in a home that didn't make it easy to grow. And now, as an adult, you can take these same traits and reshape how you use them. You don't have to live in survival mode anymore. You can live in creation mode. You can use your awareness to connect instead of to protect. You can let empathy fuel healthy connections instead of draining you. You can keep your resilience while finally allowing yourself to rest. You are not broken. You are forged by fire. And fire doesn't just burn, it strengthens, it purifies, it transforms. If this reminder touches something inside you, make sure to subscribe. Because here we're not just naming the pain, We're uncovering the gifts hidden inside it. Healing from the impact of narcissistic parents is not easy. And I want to say this right away. If you struggled with the same patterns for years, it doesn't mean you're weak. It means you survived in the only ways you knew how. The truth is, unlearning these patterns takes time, patience, and gentleness with yourself. One of the first steps is simply awareness. Recognizing when you're slipping into old survival modes, like people-pleasing, self-criticism, or mistrusting love. Once you can see it, you have the power to pause and choose differently, even if it's just in small ways at first. Therapy can be incredibly helpful, especially with someone who understands trauma and family dynamics. Journaling is another powerful tool. Writing down the thoughts that swirl in your mind helps you separate your true voice from the echo of your parents' voice. Boundaries are also life-changing. Saying no without guilt, protecting your time, protecting your peace. Those are not selfish acts, they're necessary acts. And perhaps most importantly, surround yourself with healthier relationships. Choose people who see you, who value you, who don't require you to shrink or perform. The love you didn't get in childhood can still be found, but it starts with giving some of that love to yourself. Healing isn't about becoming someone new. It's about reclaiming the self you always were before someone else tried to rewrite your story. If these words give you hope, I'd love for you to subscribe, because here you'll find reminders, tools, and encouragement to keep walking this healing path. You don't have to do it alone. So let's bring it all together. Daughters of narcissistic parents carry traits that are unusual, yes, but they're also powerful. Hyper-awareness, deep empathy, resilience, responsibility, even that mix of strength and fragility. These are not flaws. They're the marks of someone who adapted, who endured, who kept going when love wasn't steady. You are not defined by your parents' shortcomings. You are defined by your own growth, your own choices, and your own willingness to keep discovering who you truly are. And while the past may have left its fingerprints, it does not have the final say in your story. The truth is, your experiences make you inspiring. They make you human in the most beautiful way. And the very traits that once felt like burdens can become your greatest strengths. So as you move forward, hold on to this. You are not broken. You are not strange. You are resilient. You are worthy. And you are capable of creating a life that reflects your true self, not the version someone else tried to mold. If this message has spoken to your heart, don't forget to subscribe. Together, we'll keep exploring these truths, and step by step, you'll find freedom, peace, and self-discovery waiting on the other side of healing.